No matter how much I try, I am unable to sleep after my talk with Delora and Parfait. Well, I don't blame you in the slightest, girl. We got info dumped so much, that one. Mother was a wicked witch, and I am the next bearer of the Tenebrarum. It all makes sense now. So many people hated me because they thought I would be just like Mother. I feel the weight of that truth crash down on me, and it is suffocating. What am I supposed to do now? I turn to my side and bring my knees to my chest. How do I know what the truth is anymore? Suddenly an idea occurs to me. There is one other person who might know the truth. Waltz. I wonder how he is doing. I slip out of my room and make my way toward Waltz's. Yeah, he got hurt pretty bad. Waltz is sound asleep when I push the door to his room open. He looks so small on the bed. I pause to look at the hefty amount of herbs lying on the table. Those herbs. I remember a niece once told me that they help with pain. Rumpel and Anise have given Waltz a lot of them. Thoughts about the truth of my mother retreat to the back of my mind as I remember the encounter with Varg. Waltz would never have gotten hurt if it wasn't for me. My eyes begin to sting. Cry over him, he'll be touched. For the first time in years, I let my tears flow freely. I do not even know why I am crying, and I find myself talking aloud. You said that crying doesn't make a person weak, but it certainly makes me feel that way. I knew you were awake. You're not weak, Princess. Aww, you're so badly bruised, my poor Waltz. Waltz? When did he wake up? You're the strongest person I know. Waltz's voice is soft and his words are slurred. He is clearly still under the influence of the medication he's been given, but he still continues to speak. Despite everything you've gone through, you're still standing on your own 2 feet. I cannot lie anymore. I've only been pretending to be a strong person. But I cannot do this anymore, knowing that all this time I have been living a life full of lies. I'm questioning even my mother's affections now. Another dangerously gloomy thought hangs at the brink of my mind. If Mother did not care about me, that means no one did at all. Aw, Waltz. I do. I care about you, Lucette. Waltz's voice begins to grow weak as his eyes flutter closed. You're tired, Waltz. You should sleep. Lucette. His voice is slurred and slow, but hearing him say my name without the title somehow feels nostalgic. Please don't cry. Little star. You again with the stars, Waltz. Waltz closes his eyes, finally surrendering to sleep. I leave his room, closing the door quietly behind me. That's the two of them when they were kids. Stop. Again! Okay. Abracadabra. He made her a lily.
Teach me how to do it too!
A magician never reveals his secret, little star.
You always say that. Please, please, please! Just this one! Please, Waltz!
On your birthday. I'll teach you how to do it on your birthday.
Promise?
Promise. This is the first time we've ever had a memory about one of the boys, because he's the only one we would remember from being a kid. I wake slowly, the dream somehow still clear in my mind. A dream about Waltz? Was that a memory? I shake my head before I glance at the clock, stopping to stare at the time. How is it already this late? Princess? Waltz? The door opens and Waltz walks inside with a tray of food. He sets it down by my bedside as I stare at him in shock. Considering the state you were in last night, shouldn't I be bringing this to you? You're finally awake. Waltz, you're supposed to be in bed. I'm only injured, not an invalid, Princess. But... I'm fine, Princess. It's not like you to worry so much. I respond to his smile with an exasperated sigh. He will never heal properly if he does not stay in bed. Here, I wanted to give this to you yesterday. Walt reaches behind his back and pulls out a neatly wrapped box. It looks as if he pulls it out of thin air. Another magic trick? He hands me the wrapped box. What's this? You'll need to open it to find out. He got her the doll! But what about your toy? This is... You've been wanting this, haven't you? I stared down at the doll he bought for me. It is the same one that caught my eye at the shop. The reason we went to the toy shop was so that you could buy this for me? Yup. I'm glad it didn't get damaged last night. My chest tightens with emotion. These dolls are expensive. Waltz would have needed more than just his usual show tips to buy this. Why would you buy this for me? I figured you might want the extra company. Plus, you've always loved dolls, so I thought this one might cheer you up. I stare at the doll as I cradle her in my hands, my heart feeling full in my chest. Thank you. I have never gotten an unexpected gift like this before. Waltz clears his throat, and when I look up at him, I notice that his expression is somewhat sad. Ah. You heard, did you? Lady Parfait told me that she and Delora told you the whole story yesterday. I have to apologize to you. For what? The reason why they didn't tell you earlier is because I asked that they keep it a secret. I look down at the doll, my mouth suddenly dry. Why? Because I wanted you to enjoy having a normal life, even if it was just for a short time. Knowing the truth limits your freedom. I didn't want you to feel that pressure so soon. But I can see now that it was selfish of me to deprive you of the truth. I'm sorry. I clutch tighter at the doll, unable to look up at Waltz. Why would you be so kind without expecting anything in return? Kindness doesn't always need to be paid back. When you do something for someone, they will always expect the favor to be returned. That is what Mother taught me. From what I've experienced, no one is ever kind without expecting something in return. I don't expect anything from you in return, Princess. But how can I know for certain that you are speaking the truth? Well, you can't. No matter what someone's true intentions are, their actions are always up for a different interpretation. So it'll be up to you to judge their actions. Only you can decide whether or not to believe in me. I pull my knees to my chest, curling up around the doll. I still do not understand how you can be kind to me. You told me yourself it was the Tenebrae bearer that cursed you. That means my mother... Your mother was the witch that took away my magic and sealed it in Neverland. But that does not mean it is your fault that I am cursed. You are more than just Hildir's daughter, Princess. You are your own person, and I know for a fact that you are capable of more goodness than Hildir ever was. Waltz gestures toward my necklace. You are only 2 good deeds away from breaking your curse. I would not have accomplished the first one without your help. In fact, I have done nothing to help you break your... My voice trails off as my thoughts begin to come together. Waltz, to break your curse, you need to find Tinkerbell in Neverland, right? What do they look like? Neverland is a gold box with a carving of wings on the top, and Tinkerbell is the matching key. I sit up abruptly. We have to go to the palace. Walt stares at me, his expression clearly perplexed. What? Why? Because I know where to find Tinkerbell in Neverland. Boom! We can do it. We can make you Waltz the Big! I can't wait. We're actually doing it right away. Sweet. Waltz's description of Neverland and Tinkerbell was enough to jog my memory. A long time ago, Mother gave me a box and a key that matched Waltz's earlier description perfectly. She gave me strict instructions to hide them in my room and to never let anyone else have them. I never questioned Mother's orders and kept both the box and key tucked in one of my drawers. I'd forgotten I even had those things until Waltz mentioned them. The minute I remembered, I sent a letter to Rod requesting he help us get into the palace. Couldn't we have just said, "Hey Rod, I have a box and a key in my old bedroom. You know the place. Could you bring them out to the front gate? Thanks, much love, Lucette." I knew that our strained relationship would make it hard for him to trust me, so I emphasized the importance of the item we needed to obtain. A week later, he finally came through. Now we are just outside the palace waiting for him. Jurian and Garland are here to protect us in case the need arises. No, you guys need to go far away so you can marry and live forever. I glance at Waltz, who is standing beside me, fidgeting. He has been against me coming with him ever since he found out my plans. He cannot stop me. I refuse to be left behind. You still won't change your mind about this, Princess. You know the situation with the witches. It's not safe for you to be here. It's not safe for me anywhere outside of the Marchen, and you know that. Besides, how do you plan on finding Neverland and Tinkerbell without me? I'm the only one who knows where they are. Like I said, if you would just tell me where they are, I can go on my own. There's no need for you to put yourself in this much danger. I am going, and you cannot stop me, Waltz. Princess. I turn to face him fully. This is my choice, Waltz. I want to do this. For a moment there is silence between us as Waltz studies my expression. He shakes his head. I should know by now that there's no change in your mind when you're determined to do something. Just promise to stay close to me, okay? I nod absently as I feel around in my pocket for a small object, a vial that Parfait gave to me before Waltz and I left for the palace. She said that it should help us when the need arises. It is a shame that neither Parfait nor Delora could be here due to their urgent meeting with the fairies. Jurian and Garland finally arrive with Rod. Ready? I can only nod in reply. Hopefully nothing will go wrong, but now that I've said those words, something terrible's gonna happen. No, not this place again. Garland died here last time. Please, can we not come this way? We make our way through a secret passageway. I've heard of this secret passageway from the king before, but this is the first time I've ever been here. They say that this was built as an escape route should the need to evacuate the royal family arise. Only the commander of the Order of Caldera and the king know about this place. So Varg knows. Rod, how do you even know this place? How did you get a key? I thought that only the king and Sir Alcaster had copies. It was Lady Parfait who showed me this place and gave me the key. I can't leave the palace unattended on normal circumstances, so she suggested I go through here whenever I needed to get to the Marchen. Then, how was she able to get a copy of the key? You should ask her that yourself. Anyway, you haven't even told me what you needed from your room. It is an item that will break Waltz's curse. I see. Why did it take you so long to respond to my letter? The palace has been on high alert since last week. Why? Rod stops and looks at me. The hesitation is clear in his eyes. Did something happen? A week ago, the king received a letter. A warning. A letter? It said that 3 days from now, the king will be judged and convicted. His crown will be given to one more worthy. I stare at Rod with slow understanding. 3 days from now? But that date? Your 18th birthday. I continue to stare at Rod in disbelief. This cannot be a coincidence. But a new king? Do you think someone is specifically targeting my father? We all know that royals are always in danger. But this threat has made the king especially nervous. Are the witches involved in this? The silence that falls within the tunnels is heavy.
They think there's a good chance they must be. That's why the Order of Caldera has tightened security.
We continue walking in silence. Eventually, Rod points at something ahead of us.
Here we are.
The dim light of the tunnel illuminates a rusted door that leads into the palace. Rod looks around warily while Waltz and I quickly duck into the shadows of a column.
The guards will be doing their rounds on this side soon. We need to hurry.
Right. The hallways are thankfully quiet as we traverse them. Rod did a good job of scoping out the times of patrol. Eventually, we reach my room. I stop at the door to my room, suddenly overwhelmed by nostalgia. It has been so long since I have been in my room. Is this Emmeline's room now?
No. By the king's order, your room has been untouched since you were cursed.
Then, what has become of this room? I look at Rod in shock as he studies the door to my room with a complicated expression on his face.
I think maids are sent in here to dust occasionally, but otherwise everything should be just as it was before.
But why would the king keep the room as it is if he does not remember me? I turn back to the door thoughtfully, then glance at Rod. We can handle the rest. You should leave before you draw any unwanted attention. I do not want you to get into trouble. Don't worry. We will figure out a way to get back to that passage without alerting anyone. What?
You've changed.
What do you mean by that?
You never would have cared about someone else's safety before.
Rod turns to leave before I can respond.
Be careful.
Thank you. This route is playing games with my heart, though, so badly. Because it's like, we're getting little snippets with each of the boys. Like, we had one with Karma, and we had one with Fritz, and then Bard came back, and now Rod's had his turn. Ugh.
Garland and I will stand outside. Make it quick.
I nod at Jurian before turning back to the door and turning the knob. I glance at Waltz, and he nods at me. I open the door. Rod told me that my room had been untouched since I left, but I was not expecting it to be like this. Nothing has changed. Not a thing out of place. There is not even a speck of dust on the dolls in my shelves.
Lucette?
I am confused as to why this room has been untouched. Certainly the king would have thought to do something else with it. Or in the very least, he would not have maids coming in consistently to clean it. But I cannot let myself linger on the questions. I have no time for them. We came here to find Neverland and Tinkerbell. I look at Waltz and nod. Let us start searching. Time passes, but I am only able to find the key. The box is nowhere to be found, not even in the drawer that I remembered putting it in.
To think that you had Neverland and Tinkerbell this whole time.
Have you tried searching for it in my room before?
I have, but I didn't find anything. She must have used a glamour magic to hide it from me.
I stare at the key with frustration. Darn key. We need a box for you. I don't understand. I am sure it was here.
Are you sure you didn't throw it away?
No, I would never throw away such a beautiful box. Besides, I keep most of my things. They are all valuable to me, even if they are not outwardly beautiful.
I wouldn't have believed you if I hadn't seen this.
He leans down to pluck a puppet from one of my drawers. He holds it up with a smile, and I feel my cheeks heat in embarrassment. Ah, it's so cute. I never remembered to throw that out. Waltz gazes at me thoughtfully.
That's the only reason?
Well, I look at the puppet in his hands and find the truth spilling out of me. I was never able to put my finger on why, but I have always liked that puppet. A smile stretches across Waltz's face.
You kept it, even though I did such a bad job with the sewing.
What? You made this?
Yeah. This is the first puppet I ever made.
Waltz turns the puppet in his hands, looking down on it fondly before his eyes meet mine.
You were the one who taught me how to sew in the first place, you know.
What? I was the one who taught him how to sew? I stare at the puppet. Ah, she's smiling again. I probably kept it because you made it.
How cruel.
Huh?
Do you have any idea what you're doing to my poor heart?
I have a pretty good idea, Waltz, because you're doing it to me all the time. You seem perfectly fine to me. Waltz shakes his head and sighs. Waltz?
So dense.
What? The knot begins to turn. Oh yeah, we were on a secret mission? Waltz and I exchange glances before we both dart to different hiding places. I hide myself under the bed, and he runs behind the curtains, which more easily conceal his smaller body. Oh. You were not who I was expecting to come in here. The king? What is he doing here? When the king steps inside, I notice that there is something in his hands. Don't tell me. Why do you have the box? That's the box, but why does he have it? I look at Waltz and he gives me a small nod, affirming that it is indeed Neverland.
Who's there? Show yourself now if you don't want to get hurt.
Oh, the king unsheathes his sword. What should we do? I look at Waltz, who signals to me to stay in place. He mouths something, and I think he might be saying that he means to find a way to get us out. Is Waltz going to sacrifice himself again? Will he be alright? Should I trust him? Trust. I nod at Waltz. He steps out of the curtains and raises his hands in surrender.
Forgive me, Your Majesty. I know you. You were Hilder's apprentice. Waltz, was it?
I remember then that Waltz had worked for Mother, so naturally the king would know who he was.
It's been a while, Your Majesty. I'm honored you still remember me. You haven't changed. Not at all. So Hilder really did curse you for betraying her.
Betraying her? Betraying her how? Oh right, we don't know that he helped to kill her yet. The king places his sword back in its scabbard.
I have no idea what you are doing here now, but...
The king surprises us both by getting down on one knee and bowing to Waltz.
Your Majesty, you shouldn't... I was never able to thank you after the war, so thank you. You did so much for our kingdom, Waltz. So thank you. We owe you our lives. If only all witches were as good as you.
The king stands once again, his posture stiff and straight.
There are more of us than you think, Your Majesty.
I'm lost. What are they talking about?
But I didn't do it for the kingdom.
Waltz turns to look at me suddenly, a small smile on his face.
I did it for her. Her? Who are you talking about?
Waltz nods his head at me.
It's all right, Lucette.
I slide out of my hiding place and stand in front of the king. It has been months since I last saw him. The king's eyes widen as he looks at me.
You're that girl from the gates.
You remember me?
It is more like I find it impossible to forget you.
What?
I have a lot of questions for the two of you, but the most important is why you are both in this room. Regardless of the fact that I know you, Waltz, you have still broken into the palace.
We would not have done it if we did not have to. I steel myself for further scolding when the king turns to look at me. That box you are holding, we need it to break Waltz's curse.
How did you come to have it, Your Majesty?
The king looks down at the box as if only noticing it for the first time.
I was in this room the other day and noticed a chip on the side of the box. I took it to get it fixed.
A chip? I did drop it once a while back, but did not think to get it fixed myself. Why would you do that? The king looks around the room, a faraway look in his eyes.
This room is special to me, though I do not know why. I feel like this room and I are both waiting for someone to return, and everything must be perfect for when they do.
I feel my chest tightening, even as the king huffs out a derisive laugh.
What am I saying?
He cannot miss me when he does not remember me. He can't. Right?
But if this box is all that you require, Waltz, you may have it. It's the least I can do after all that you have done for us.
The king holds out the box to Waltz, who reaches out to take it. Okay, what terrible thing is going to happen after I click?
Thank you, Your Majesty.
Look who we have here. We all freeze at the sound of the new voice. I turn and find an all too familiar figure leaning against the doorway, a mischievous grin on his face. Oh, Varg. Alright, let me go back. This is Varg coming in. I would have really thought Mithros would take this time to come out behind a pillar again and be like, oh, scandal.
Look who we have here. What a sweet little reunion.
Varg?